All right, welcome back. Well, today we got on the bench both my Vendettas. This is the one that backflipped at the end, and we're gonna have to make a change to these body posts and get those back down. I'm gonna go over this whole RC to make sure I didn't cause any damage to it. Body did get a little beat up, which sucks. But that's a part of speed running. The damage could have been a lot worse. So this one was running consistently. This one still has stock battery straps, which makes it hard for putting 2 3S's in it. But on this, what I noticed is that the front end was getting sucked way down. So what I need to do is I need to get the body off of this, which I've duct taped. So we're going to get that off. That's to try to not get air underneath it. Oh, there's my Sky RC cover, which that's weird. So my Sky RC popped apart, which that's never happened before. See, where's the plug hole? There's a hole right there, so I don't know if this thing snaps back together. I might put some the impact didn't look that hard, but I'm gonna go ahead and throw some tape on that, or might just put a couple spot touches of glue on it. But it was working at the end, which is good. So let me get this one's got the bad tire on it. This one I have limitless straps on it, and I show how to do that in one of my videos. These are both set up the same, and as you see, these are all brand new batteries, and they're all the same batteries, so that's the only way I can do comparisons from one RC to another. And shock setup is the same, fronts are all the way relaxed, rear are all the way up on both. I literally set these cars up the same ESCs, same everything. Same gearing, they're identical. The only difference is these body posts are all the way down, and these body posts have been raised up. So I know the body post is what caused the backflip. So I raised up the rear 1 hole and the front 1 hole, and it made the RC flip. So we're gonna lower these body posts back down, but I have some fuel tubing here. What I'm gonna do to stop this body from rubbing, because what it's done, as you see right here, it's wearing through the body. So I don't want that to continue, and that's slowing me down. God, that tire took a beating. So So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop off these front shocks, and we're going to go ahead and throw some fuel tubing in there so that I have a bump stop. When this thing is on the floor dragging like this and these wheels are hitting here, and remember they do grow, I'm going to basically take half the distance out of this. So let me see if I can get one set up to where I want it. So that's about the cushion I think I'm going to need in there. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and pop one of these shocks off. And I'm going to probably do it all the way around on the shocks. But first I'm going to do the front. So take off the front first so that you can get to the bottom screw. The bottom screw will have a washer on it. That's just an easy way of removing these front shocks without pulling the whole front end. So here we go. The shocks. Oh. Nice and stiff. God, these things are really stiff. And it's still pushing that down. So I started to crank up that one because I get some tension off of that. Yeah, that's about right. That's going to be about the size I want. So what I'm going to do is cut 4 of those. And I think the clear tubing will be the right size. So that should do good right there. And I guess I could, I don't know if this will unscrew out the top. It might. Seems to be easier. Just pull the spring out the top. That'll allow me to get that out the bottom. Grab our TLR trusty shock pliers, which I don't know how well this is going to work to put it back together when that bump stop stuff is there, but we'll squeeze it and try. So I'm going to unscrew this. These shocks are so short. That's all the way out. My bump stop is pretty much almost the whole shaft with about an 1/8 inch to spare. Because this will still compress. So as you see, I have a little compression there. Now this does come out. I'll show you when it's put together. So we need to get this piece back on, which is going to be tough because I slid the bump stop down again. So that little 1/8 inch allows me to put this back on. That's got a little notch it sits into. Our spring. So there we go. You see how much travel we have now? And I'm going to leave the tension down because I don't want to raise the ride height. So we're going to do that on both front. Kind of like what Losi did on the drag setup. I have done these bump stops before, but I like suspension travel with my RCs because it dampens these rough roads that I race on. The roads aren't the smoothest, and you kind of need the suspension working, especially when I'm going up over that hill. I kind of want it to collapse instead of going airborne. And that's recessed in there pretty far. And then you want these, make sure that you screw these all the way on. For this Vendetta being all plastic, it sure does perform pretty well in my opinion. There we go. So as you see, that's the travel we'll have, and that should stop me from ripping up this body. And then I'll add the same to the rear. So these impact things have to go forward. And then just reverse it, bottom first and then the top, so that you can get to that bottom screw. one with the washer, the shorter one with the washer goes on the bottom, and those go forward. Don't over tighten them. This thing is all plastic. There we go. And it now doesn't hit the ground, which is great. That's what I was looking for, is it stops before the chassis hits the ground. It's leaving me about 1/8 inch. And that's it. That's where it stops. Right there before the body, everything hits the ground. And this could still rub on the tires depending on how far they grow. But I'm hoping the silver hoons will do better. So we're gonna give that a shot. And now I have to do the rear, because I definitely don't want the rear sucking down and the front not being able to go down and it catch air. So I'm going to do the same to the rear. And I'll keep the same distance. So let's see, this bottom bolt you can't get to either. So we're going to disconnect the top first. Make sure we're going the right way. Hopefully that gives us enough drop down to get to the bottom screw from the bottom. Which it does. And that'll have a washer on the bottom as well. So, as you can see, gives us just enough room to get that screw out. And as you see, like I said, I crank the rear all the way down. The battery side, I always give it a little more, even on the front, which I'll do when the battery's back in anyway. So now we're going to take this tension off of these things. Now I'm assuming these are longer than the front. They don't seem like it. They seem like they're the same. Huh. They kind of look shorter. Now I haven't changed the fluid in these things at all. They're still stock out of the box. The only thing I've done to this RC is put the optional pinion in it that came with it, and I put a takeoff 6S ESC from Spectrum. And that's it, and left everything else alone. It's just amazing what this Vendetta's doing. I really wasn't a believer in the body. I just, you know, when I first ran it, I wasn't a believer in these holes, but after running it and seeing how much downforce it has, even with those holes in there, it's truly amazing. So squeeze that up so that you can squeeze this bottom piece by. We're leaving pretty much just enough room to get that back in there, covering the rest of the shaft. And then we're going to bottom these things out so they're all the way up. And that's going to give me the rake that I need to keep it from flipping. There you go. God, those are really stiff. Yeah, that's some stiff shock right there. But there's movement in it. Those 100-mile-an-hour speeds really has some that body has some downforce on it. I really must say, keeping this thing planted. I was hoping just moving up the body post and not having to do this to the shocks would have been good, but as you guys see, if I raise that body post, it will backflip. I haven't backflipped a car since the first time I built the Limitless, especially at 100 miles an hour. You'll know when you have your aero off and your car set up wrong, because right about 55, 60 miles an hour is when they love to start lifting and start to backflip. And before 80 miles an hour is when they'll backflip. I was shocked that the Vendetta backflipped at 100 miles an hour. Don't cross thread these. Take your time. It's a really simple thing to do. Real easy. Fuel tubing's cheap. Most of us have it laying around. The red and white there is just two different sizes for two different shock shafts. I just buy the smallest fuel tubing I can find. Even if it's a little big, it doesn't really matter as long as it's in there. It doesn't have to be tight on the shaft. If it's loose on the shaft, as long as the fuel tubing's in there, you'll be good. So whatever you got laying around, or whatever you can get your hands on at the local hobby store, stick that in there. You're just making a bump stop. Since we don't have droop screws on this, it's a way to basically set up your droop, if you will, on how far it's going to travel down. Droop is how much it's going to hang, but this is a bump stop going the opposite direction. There we go. Oh God, that's stiff. I'm shocked at that stiffness that these shocks still move. So this is going to face forward. That's it. Nice and simple. Remember, the bottom goes in first and it comes out last. That way you can get to it. And then the reason the guards are faced forward is so if you hit rocks or hit anything, oh, that's way in there. There we go. Back is really stiff. Front moves up really slow. You see that? See how fast that recoups? That's the spring tension. And we have no tension up front. God, I wish I can get more of a rake to this thing. But there's only one location. So when you get going, the air is going to suck that down, and that's going to stay up, and that's going to hopefully keep it planted on the ground. And there we go. I'm going to do that one off camera. Here's how I'm going to set it up for our next speed run. So there we go, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and get out there and do some RC. Got some more drag stuff coming here soon. I ordered some parts that are coming, and we'll get on the drag stuff. But hopefully I can get out if weather permits, and we'll do some more speed passes in the Vendetta and see if this is going to help me or hurt me. One change at a time. Thanks for watching.